All right. Well, today, for the first time since I got it on my 50th birthday, which was way back when. So it's now, what are we? April, February, March. It's 7 months later. And I finally got to use the telescope. Yes. And here's the exciting news about that. Totally unexpected thing. You know, I was gonna watch the moon, see the moon, just prove it's got craters on it and that it's a planet and all that. But the really unexpected thing is that my awesome wife, as soon as I'd set up the telescope, came out with 2 new books that I didn't know she'd bought. And she'd bought them on my birthday, but she kept them hidden because, like, nope, I'm gonna wait until he sets it up. And it's like stargazing stuff in 2020, and the other one is just a generic awesome book on astronomy, and you know, what things to see and what you can see and so on. It's really very, very cool. And yes, I did see the moon. It took a little bit of doing because I still haven't got the motorized part of the thing going. I have to learn how to use it, and it took me a while to figure out that, you know, because I bought a whole bunch of extensions on the advice of the guy I bought it from. Well, the one of the people that works in the shop I got it from, and they said, oh well, you know, what are you going to use it for, whatever. And I said, yeah, look, maybe some stargazing, maybe some planets or whatever, but you know, really I want to look at the moon. And turns out I don't need all those extensions. I literally could do with one of the 50mm ones, and that's it. So I wasn't focusing for a while. I was like, what the hell, you know, I can't focus this thing. But I knew it worked because during the day I'd set it up and focused it on the top of some trees that were quite far off, and you could literally count the leaves on it. One of the buildings that's quite far that I set it on just to see that I could focus, you could count the bricks in the brickwork. So, you know, and that's a few hundred meters away. So today I looked at the moon, really unexpected, those 2 books, but you know what wasn't unexpected? The craters. The moon is a planet, that's right. And it's got craters on it, that's right. And it moves even as we move. So I think it's the first time that my wife's seen the moon through a telescope of that magnitude. And me. I used to have a little one when I was young, when I was about 15 or so, 13, 15. The thing is that in my memory, that little telescope, the bits of the moon that I saw, I remember it as huge. Now, to be fair, that probably is not an incorrect memory, because when the moon is low in the horizon, of course you get a lensing effect. And in Africa, which is where I was at the time, sometimes when the moon was close to the horizon, it looked fucking huge. I mean, like you could read at moonlight, you know. Out here, you know, it's northern latitudes, and it was literally straight up. So it was kind of blinding a little bit. The reflect, it was bright. But luckily I had ordered a filter, so I've got a filter for it, and it was okay. Although I forgot to use it for some bits, so I was kind of like half blind for a bit. But yeah, no, really good. I'm really glad I got that telescope, and that it works really well. I mean, especially on the where the sort of shadow edge of the moon happens. There you can see the craters really well, but you can see them. You can see the valleys, you can see the different shades. It's really awesome. Now, as it happens, I have, let's just see, I think this is it. Yeah, there you go. See, I have this stuff. Now, I don't know if I've got all exactly the right bits. I got what I was advised to get, again, by the people that sell these things. So hopefully, sometime in the not too distant future, first, I have to learn how that motorized bit works. And then I have to make sure I've got all the bits. I do have a Pentax camera. Hopefully it's the right kind of camera for this. At which point I will hopefully be able to take some pictures of the moon. Now, I know it's not quite the same, but, you know, it's just like people out there saying that the moon is like a lamp, or it's, you know, see-through, or some fucking nonsense. No, the moon is a planet, and if you look through a telescope like the one that I've got here, and you observe it for, you know, whatever, a month in a row, you're not really gonna be able to sort of say, no, it's a lamp, it's a light, it's, no, it isn't. Which is why the motorized bit works, by the way, because it can track exactly, once you tell it that's where the moon is, it calculates. In fact, I don't think you even have to tell it. You just type in what you want to find, and once it's got its like positions or GPS coordinates or whatever, it will track whatever object you give it at the correct speed. Which, what does that mean? It means that we can predict precisely the speed at which the rotation of the Earth and the movement of the moon around the Earth, what that motion is. You can predict it so precisely that the computer in the little tripod thing can track it so accurately that when you take a photograph, it doesn't get all shaken up because it stays in the same relative position. So yeah, the moon, awesome. Now, I can't transmit my enthusiasm to you because, well, you weren't there and you didn't see it. But those of you that have got telescopes, or that have seen the moon, or that have got decent telescopes, will know what I mean. It's pretty exciting. It's like the closest you can get to actually, you know, flying around in a spaceship, checking out other planets. So that's pretty cool. I mean, I'd prefer the spaceship, but it's as close as I'm getting so far. But, you know, I haven't given up hope yet, you know. Hopefully the smart aliens, before they nuked us out of existence, because if they're smart, that's what they should do to the human race, pretty much. They might just say, hey, we'll save a few cool guys, you know, and here I am. That's the hope. In other news, Bill Gates has now gone on the record basically saying, oh, there'll be like an 18-month quarantine, but our vaccine has got the most promising results, and then once everybody's vaccinated, then they can rejoin normal society. This is the guy who patented the disease. It's got 2 or 3 far more virulent forms and vicious forms of it, and he wants to vaccinate everybody. Keep in mind that his company and his vaccines have sterilized and killed children in Africa, India, and pretty much throughout the world. Because that's what they do. They give these vaccines to kids. And the kids are the most susceptible. They're the ones that really get damaged by these shitty vaccines. So, you know, all my Russian mates are like, yes, if they try to do forced vaccine, we are going to go down fighting. So are the Sikhs, so are the Muslims I know. So there's going to be, you know, I think Bill Gates has basically created about 7 billion anti-vaxxers. I saw a meme that was like, oh no, I just created 7 billion anti-vaxxers. And that's pretty much it. Because before I let fucking Bill Gates poke me with some shit, fuck him, right? Especially since we all know that chloroquine works. Chloroquine fixes the COVID virus that they invented. And so does a couple of other drugs, by the way. And I don't want to lie, I don't want to say wrong things. I don't remember the name, and I speak under correction on this point. But I think it's like anti-parasitic sort of medicines. You know, it's like over-the-counter sort of like anti-worm stuff that you can just take. Like chloroquine, which is cheap, efficient, not patented because it's been around for fucking centuries. I'm actually going to look up if it's easy enough to make in your kitchen. You know, chloroquine is a bullshit drug. I mean, it's anti-malarial, and it works. It kills the COVID virus great. So I hope that the little article I read about Trump and Putin basically fighting the New World Order, and this is their last gasp, is true. And another very interesting thing that has recently come up, Adam Schiff, the guy who was all about the impeachment, apparently there's video of him, and there was a witness, the Boudin guy, the chef that got murdered. He was a witness to these events. Adam Schiff raped a drugged 10-year-old African-American boy, black little kid, and raped him unto death. The kid died of an overdose of whatever they gave him to be raped, and she fucked him for an hour while he was basically an unconscious and then dead boy. So this thing is apparently going around. Supposedly Pelosi has got a copy of the video. I don't know. This is all internet stuff. Maybe it's real, maybe it's not. But supposedly that's what's going on. I, on principle, believe it's absolutely true. That's my belief. I absolutely believe Adam Schiff is a child raping killer, as are most of the Hillary Clinton people. So that's my opinion, and that's what's going on in the world. But don't panic. The moon's a planet, and solid reality is still there. So there's that. And we'll see how it turns out. I'm still enjoying the apocalypse. Probably enjoy it a little bit less if they, come to your door armed, trying to force sterilizing fucking drugs on you or whatever. But I think there would be pretty huge resistance. I'm interested to see, the fact that Russia has got like very low numbers of these COVID cases. I wonder why that is. And there's another little rumor in the same article I read, which is that so many people died in northern Italy. It's not straight out of the COVID virus, but it's a combination of two vaccines, one for the flu, I believe, and the other one for meningitis. There was a huge campaign about vaccinations in the north of Italy. And in fact, I dimly remember that was the case around 2016. They were going on about this. And apparently these two vaccines taken some years apart or months apart or whatever, combined to make you a lot more susceptible to this COVID thing. The other thing that's very interesting is that some guy in Israel apparently has come up with a test to see if you're positive for COVID. And it's one of these little tests that pinpricks you, and it's got a whole bunch of little electronic stuff. In 2 minutes, you'll know whether you've got COVID. Yeah. I'm not letting some fucking test from Israel pinprick me to tell me whether I've got COVID either. Because who the fuck knows what's in that little pinprick? It would be the height of simplicity for these retarded fucking Prometheans to include a retrovirus in there, which is pretty much undetectable, and it could do who the hell knows what. I mean, I don't know if the average person has any idea of the advancements in bioengineering, and biowarfare. What we're seeing here is just a test run. And you've got the latest video released on the 4th of April of Bill Gates talking about this stuff, and he's like, oh yeah, we this is not so bad. We could have had a much worse one. The event 201 that they did, 201 or 210, I forget. I think it's 201, or maybe it's 210. I don't know. So they role played this plague, coronavirus. Bill Gates, his foundation, financed it and role played this 2 weeks before the outbreak started, where they resulted in, they reckon, 60 million deaths. But what they've realized now is like, hey, we've created enough panic, we can control these guys like sheep, no problem. So they'll do what we want, and if they don't, we'll just release the more virulent form. So I sincerely hope that if the whole Q thing, Trump, Putin, all these guys are real, I sincerely hope that Bill Gates catches some fatal event, disease, COVID virus, whatever. That's my sincere hope. That him and his cohort and people like him end up 6 feet under, by eminently natural causes of some form or other. God-given causes, let's say. There are some nasty, evil people out there, especially when you consider that some mayors in the United States absolutely blocked chloroquine from working, and then 4 days later one of the same mayors is like, how can we have all the chloroquine? So there's a lot of shifting going on in the deep state stuff and alliances, and God knows what's going on in there. It's a den of vipers all biting each other. So, but who knows? I'm a lot of people, there's one little point I wanted to mention. A lot of people are thinking, this is the end of days. Bergoglio has also at the same time stopped to use the honorific of Vicar of Christ in one of his latest scandals, but he's a Satanist, so that's par for the course. So they're all saying, the last fake pope, Satan's sitting in the seat of Peter, and the plague is coming and all that stuff. Look, if you've read Revelation, first of all, and if you've read the Bible, you'll understand two things. One, no one knows the hour of when the end of days comes. Not even Jesus, only God. So it's pointless for you to speculate. Secondly, let's say it is the beginning of the end times. From what I've read and all the prophecies I've read and what's in the Bible, this would be the rose-tinted glasses, very happy beginning of it, because the end times are pretty fucking dark. Everybody pretty much gets wiped out. Most of humanity dies. There's going to be 3 days of solid darkness where pretty much everybody who doesn't stay indoors and has holy candles or whatever dies. There's all sorts of, nefarious, evil shit going on. And to the point where even the last few remnant of believers would stop believing if Jesus didn't come with their second coming. So we're nowhere near that, as far as I can tell. So to me, this is just kind of a little hiccup. Now, in theory, I suppose, Bergoglio could be the herald of the Antichrist. And I'm not much into this stuff. I'm not really read up. I thought the Antichrist was supposed to be of some kind of Semitic origin. And I don't know, maybe Bill Gates had the snip or not. But could be, Bill Gates the Antichrist. Bergoglio his herald. Yeah, potentially. But if it is, it is, And get yourself one of these if you don't have one. Pray the rosary and go out fighting. Unless you're a martyr class, be warrior class. We're not as cool as the martyrs, but we're cool enough. And don't lie down like dogs. Connect with your community, know what's going on, know who's living around you, know who's not living around you, and stay healthy, stay strong, and enjoy the apocalypse. My one real regret about this apocalypse is that we're not yet allowed to shoot the zombies in the face. Can you just get it to where we can just shoot them in the face? I mean, if they're fast zombies, that's pretty nasty shit. Fast zombies are pretty scary things. But if they're your usual zombie, with a cop's IQ and reflexes and intelligence, it's not too scary, But yeah, anyway, that's me for tonight. It's real late, and I'm gonna see over the next few days and weeks, pardon me, if I can, pick up Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, something else. But the detail that you can see on the moon is really cool. It's interesting. So that's me done. Good night.